Hello and welcome, Simon's Trading Channel. Happy Wednesday to you. Thank you for joining me for another one of my videos. Hope you're all well. Let's get on with the price action analysis. So another Bitcoin video. And not a lot has happened really in the last few days, as you can see from this perfectly sideways price action analysis. That is a classic Bitcoin consolidation. It really likes to move in very quick up moves or down moves. Let's call them volatile moves, which is obviously direction neutral, followed by periods of consolidation. It does that on all the time frames, not just the lower time frames, of which you're staring at one, because it's the 4 hour. So I thought today I'll start with the lower time frame, work my way up. So let's get straight on with it. Now, as you can see, indeed, as I just pointed out, Bitcoin's been going sideways, and really it's been going sideways since about the 23rd. So that's a week. That's pretty much a week of sideways price action. So something's going to happen, right? Whenever you get these prolonged consolidation periods, and you can see how narrow the Bollinger Band gets, which is a reflection of low volatility, there's always a volatile move that follows. Now, the last one was to the upside. And the clue there was that as volatility picked up, so this candle, it was above the midpoint. If that had been a candle below the midpoint, then you would have guessed that, or the signs would have been there that it will be a move to the downside because volatility would be picking up to the downside. So what does that mean? Well, look for the pivot. The pivot being, well, this is what I do. I mean, you can do whatever you like, but I look to see where price is relative to the midpoint in that low volatility environment. So on this 4 hour time frame, price is pretty much at the midpoint at the moment. And so with 3.5 hours left to go, we'll see where this 4 hour candle closes. If it closes back above the midpoint, and if then volatility expands, it's more likely to be moved to the upside. So there's quite a few ifs and buts going on at the moment, and we shall see. It's now Wednesday. Potentially price might make a bit of a move tomorrow and Friday leading into the weekend, or will it just be an extremely boring week? We shall see. Only time will tell. You can see that the RSI is still in the bull zone, and it's getting quite close to flipping red. And you can see the price action needed to flip it red, i.e. bearish, would be 4 hour closures below basically 92.8. So there's a bit of a buffer there. There's a bit of a buffer, but that's definitely waning momentum, as is this. It's getting close to the zero line, but much like this consolidation following this volatile move to the upside, the MACD didn't cross below the zero line, and then when volatility picked up, the MACD remained above the zero line, which for me and how I use the MACD means that there is more likely to be an upside move. So there's more likely to have price action to the upside when the MACD is above the zero line, and indeed that did happen. So I like to have a few things that give me a steer on what the momentum is and what then becomes more likely for the next move. So yeah, low volatility environment on the 4 hour. A move is coming, and will it be up and down, up or down? Well, at the moment, I'd have an upside bias, but we'll see. We'll see what happens overnight. So the daily, you can see here, the daily, as the volatility on the daily started to cool off really since the 26th, and it's not in a low volatility environment yet, but it's kind of closing in. You could see this was the low volatility environment here, and then while volatility did pick up a bit, but it was basically one day. Excuse me, all of the price action happened on one day, and then it's been going sideways ever since. Now, to be honest, sideways without breaking down makes me more bullish. But you'd want to see volatility, or I would like to see volatility cool right off on this daily time frame, and for Bitcoin to maintain its position above the midpoint which is quite far down at the moment, but that will work its way up if price keeps going sideways as volatility cools off. And so if that indeed doesn't happen, so if, say, for example, on the 4-hour time frame, you start to get a volatility picking up to the downside, then on the daily, me personally, I'd like to see an area defended somewhere around 87.5, somewhere around there on a daily time frame, which should be a support area. And then even if there was a bit of a volatile move on the 4-hour that brought Bitcoin back down to sort of high 80s, down towards really nowhere further south than about 87.5, something like that. Probably somewhere between. Well, for me personally, it's somewhere between 87 and 87.5 for daily closures. If it can get support there, that would look good to put in to then turn back up, put in a higher low compared to this low, and then that's continuation of trend. So we'll see. Again, that's kind of trying to guess the future, which is a fool's errand, but that's another idea. That's if Bitcoin doesn't march upwards again from where it is now. As you can see on this move here, the price moved up, went sideways, but at no point did it cross below the midpoint of the Bollinger Band. Then you got volatility expansion. It's been going sideways ever since. The RSI entered into the bull zone and will continue to be in the bull zone as long as Bitcoin's closing daily is above 84. So, that's basically the support resistance area right here. And the MACD is indeed momentum to the upside. So, yeah. The weekly, in a similar manner, did close last week above the midpoint of the Bollinger Band. And if you remember, what I said was, that's no great shakes. It doesn't really change what's going on, i.e. this is still a low volatility environment on a weekly time frame and will continue to be anywhere with candles on a weekly time frame, anywhere between 106,000 and 75. So quite a considerable range here on the Bollinger Band in this relatively low weekly, relatively low volatility environment on the weekly. And what I want to see, if volatility does pick up, I want to see price action living above the midpoint of the Bollinger Band, just like I mentioned on the 4-hour, which is also in a low volatility environment. And the midpoint for the Bollinger Band at the moment is basically, probably around 91.5. So for weekly closures, 91.5 gives me more of an upside bias. To be honest, you could have weekly closures below 91.5, and that would just kind of continue in the sideways weekly direction, just like here. This was a narrow Bollinger Band for many, many weeks, and price just sort of bounced around really in a range. The same could happen. And to be honest, the longer that goes sideways, the more bullish or the bigger the, hopefully, upside move would be that would occur when volatility picked up. So fairly boring at the moment on all the significant time frames that I look at, but boring without breaking down is good in the context of a bull market, and boring generally precedes excitement. So we'll see what happens. We'll certainly see what happens. But from a momentum point of view, the MACD is turning back up from the lows on the weekly. It remains within the bull zone, and the trend is still to the upside. So can't argue with that really if you're looking for a continuation for this bull run. All right, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If so, please like and subscribe and join me next time for another Bitcoin price action analysis video. Take care, and I will see you soon.